record on this computer.
Can you put me on share, please?
Yes, I will. So Jane, welcome.
Welcome.
I Am Woman's Academy night, and we're all so excited that you're going to be sharing with us some of your tools, tips, techniques and talents that are going to help us become even more successful female entrepreneurs. So Jane, over to you if you'd like to introduce yourself and this evening's theme.
Let me just go on to this. Okay, can everybody see that? Yeah?
Yep.
See that? Good. Okay, so I wanted to really think about, well, for yourselves really, about how your behaviour as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, affects how you talk to people, how you approach people, how it affects you in the work that you're doing. So I wanted to give you an overview today, and I use this a lot with my clients because it really helps them when they're in a really stuck state in terms of trying to get the right message across to their potential leads or to clients that they're seeing face to face or via Zoom these days, because sometimes we just don't speak the same language. And I think, sorry, what's your name? Sally, you've done insights, so this is going to be quite familiar to you, but bear with me. But I think, as far as this is concerned, it's a very simplistic tool, which I think is really, really helpful for when you're putting yourself out there and talking to clients, or when you're thinking about things, because we can just get stuck in the same old behavior patterns. So today really is a very quick whistle-stop tour of understanding your own behaviour style, and to be able to get results with your clients by stepping into their shoes and almost talking in their language, which actually might feel quite like a foreign language. I mean, how many times have you actually talked to somebody and thought, oh my goodness, I have no idea what they're talking about. I just don't click. I don't get on. I don't understand what they're talking about. Or you get really frustrated with somebody because they're just not listening, or they're not talking your way. Anybody feel like that? Yeah, I see a smile from Beth. and more importantly then, with that, when you get an idea of your own style, about how your emotions react and reflect with that, and the energy that has and an impact on not only yourself, but to potential clients and to others around you. And you might not even see that because you're operating at an almost an unconscious level, because it's normal, it's a habit, it's what you do. And so that's what I want to do. So a little bit about me. I do a lot of management and leadership coaching, like Sally, and there's sort of done a lot more around career development, strategy around career, a lot with corporate people, but also, as I've said, with business people who maybe are just moving on and just so stuck on being in the business and not leading their business. So I am a master NLP coach and hypnotherapist, and also I love the holistic side of things as well. So I am a reflexology practitioner. I love learning, and I think that's part of my psyche. I do my specialism is in performance psychology and emotions and behaviour. So it's all about confidence and about being able to work towards that vision to take action. So why do we need to understand your behaviour? Because sometimes we think about things in a way, and we think about, I need the detail. I need to feel secure. I need to know what rules there are to be able to do something. But we know that, but the other person that you're speaking to, you can't mind read. You don't know what they're thinking. So you act out your own behaviour. And so what you think is what you get, in effect. Yeah. And so part of that then comes around this sort of triangle of, you know, our thoughts, how we think, affects how we act and feel, which leads into our emotions, which is really, really important, because I work with a lot of people who come to me who are at like a really bad place where their emotions have taken over and of course have had a really big impact on their health, which is when the holistic side of me comes in, and I love all the NLP stuff that I can work with them on that. So it all, and of course, you know, the behavior that you're acting out will relate to those emotions, will relate to those thoughts. So there's this sort of triangle that tends to happen all the time. And so it's about how we pinpoint and understand these different elements. I'm not going to be going into the thoughts and not too much about the emotions today. I'm focusing on behavior because I think this is a really nice one to do, because if you have it, I don't think any of you guys have got a team. Sally, have you got a team, Sal? Yeah, okay. So, you know, as you know, it's about getting the best out of people and understanding their sort of style to be able to motivate them and get the best out of them. So the 4 behaviour styles that I'm going to talk about today are based on a thing called DISC, is DISC psychometrics. And the 4 that really are the prominent ones are the driver, which measures how a person solves problems and responds to any challenges that they may have. The promoter or the influencer, how a person tries to influence or persuade others. And that is a really big one for business owners as well, I think. You know, from my own experiences, people don't like selling, and it's about how you influence instead of sell. And there's some really nice little ideas in this to help you think about how to actually communicate with a client or a potential client in the right way. The third one is the supporter or steadiness. This measures the pace at which a person undertakes an activity. It's all around sort of based on relationships. And then the third sort of style is the sort of more of an analyzer based on compliance, and measures how much a person responds to rules and regulations set out by others. I have to admit, I'm not really much of an analyzer. So these styles here show you a little bit more, so it's a little bit easier to see. And as you can see, on the one side you have a really sort of dominant sort of style, which goes back to, let me get my thingy back, which goes back to this driver, which is about quite outgoing, but very, very task orientated, as you can see. So that's a driver there. So they're very, very goal driven and very competitive all the time, and have that sort of sense of urgency. They have to have things done and very goal centric. Now, you might recognize, and what I want you to do is to think about what your style is as I'm talking through. And let me say that everybody goes, oh, well, I'm a bit of everything, but you will have a dominant style that comes out of this, right? And when we've worked that bit out, I want you to think of someone that you have a difficulty with communicating, or you want to get a message out to them, but it's just not happening in the right way, because I think this might really help you. So then on the task side then at the bottom, so we have more of a compliance, more of control, very careful and logical, organized, diplomatic. You have to do it right. So they're more down on this end of sort of more reserved, maybe a little bit more introverted in the way they approach things, but they get on with the task. They are very much around, you know, this analyzer compliance, measures how a person responds to rules, regulations, and to others. Then on the other side, you have the influencer, who's very, very people person, very outgoing, but on the people side. So their tasks are, you know, they do the task, but they're very much people focused, talkative, spontaneous, and they love having fun doing it. And then the last one then is the more steady sort of supporter style. It's very stable, dependable, very sort of conservative and, you know, want everybody to build relationships and do it together. And all of these styles have their advantages and disadvantages in the way that you can approach different people. So I'm just going to give you a little bit more on each of these styles, and I want you to really think here about which one you think sort of resonates most with you. So the driver is quite, I don't like the word dominant, but they are very much dominant in whatever they do because they're so goal-centric, driven, and very, very decisive. They really look for bottom line results. They're all about results and concerned with efficiency and being able to be very, very task orientated. They'll have a go. They will lead. They will take things forward, and they will obviously be seen as competent and determined and task orientated. Will not give up. They do not like to fail, or do they like to be taken advantage of? And their sort of secret fuel really is they like to get quick results. They can't be looking at a project thinking, oh, I'll think about it. They just, you know, those people who just get on with it, sort it out, get an action and move it forward really, really quickly. Anyone think that they're a D here?
I think I'm a D, Jane.
You're a D, okay, cool. Hold on that one. So just as a D, what do you think might be the emotional problems behind a D? If you could name an emotion that maybe comes up when that person is a D who's not getting quick results, who's very competitive, who's very goal-focused and driven, what sort of emotions would come up if they weren't being satisfied with that?
Very frustrated.
Frustrated, yeah.
Impatient.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some people who are like that. You know, they almost explode in front of others because they want it now, and they're slamming their hand down, and you know, the very top end of the D, right? They don't like to fail. So when you're talking to other business owners, you'll start to notice these types of people because they'll want to know, when's it going to be done? How's it going to happen? You know, what's the timescales? Really, really quickly. And they want it like almost like yesterday, you know, those types of clients. So the promoter, going back to that little thing, oops, sorry. The I is along the top there. So they're much more on the person side. So they're opposite to the D on the top, but they're both on the outgoing side. Let me just go back. These guys are very inspirational. They love lots of things going on. They're like the shiny object person. And I know quite a lot of entrepreneurs who are like this. So they love new projects. They'll think of something, they'll jump on it, and they will then want to run it for a bit, and then they get bored really easily. And then want to get on to the next thing. But they are excellent because they are so imaginative. They've got this big vision in their heads. They think big picture, and they love people. So they're obviously wanting to seek interaction. They like to talk. They're the ones on the left, you know, when you stand outside the left, they're the ones chatting away all the time at you. Really optimistic, always thinking if there's a problem, they'll just try and work around it and go, yeah, let's just do it. They're very not risk averse, risk positive. What's the word? You know what I mean? They'll just go for it. They don't mind trying to have a go, regardless of the consequences. So they can be a little bit sort of fiery in that respect and need to be managed quite well. They do need praise and interaction. They need feedback, eyes. So people you're talking to, you know, they like you to be able to give them feedback, give them something, give them some positives about what is going on. hate loss of popularity and that social rejection because they're very, very people focused. Their big secret fuel is having fun with other ideas to get results. Yeah. So you see, you know, a lot of people in the online world are quite big eyes because they are, you know, they're seeking out that fun, and they're thinking of lots of different things to do all the time, but very often they'll start things and they don't finish it. Anyone think that they're an I here? Sam? Oh, Steph? I can't see anybody else, sorry. What would happen to an I then? What emotions come up if you were not having fun and you were not having that sort of social interaction that is so important for an I?
Would they get bored?
Down as
Boredom,
well.
yeah.
And sad when you're in
Sad.
lockdown and you can't see face-to-face clients.
Yeah, it's a really big one. I'm quite a big I actually, and I know that, you know, it really kills me when, you know, since lockdown you have to seek it out, because otherwise you are, you know, you're stuck in your own little bubble, aren't you? So, you know, there's a lot of eyes around as entrepreneurs, I think, because they have that imagination and they have that vision. Then there comes that little bit about how much detail, because they're not very detailed. They're much more big picture people. So hold that thought, you know, with any clients that you might be thinking of talking to, of what those types of people are. So the next one is the supporter, the S, which sort of lies down here on this side, again on the people side, but a little bit more reserved. Now, I think, you know, these people who have much more of a behavioural preference of the S, they're very much more steady. They're the supportive person. They're very much you know, the person, the go-to person that people want to, if they're in a team or if they're in an environment of a online group, there'll always be one where people want to go and chat to them because they feel as if they're really approachable and they're loyal and they're very sincere and they are fantastic listeners. Unlike the D, the first one we talked about, who doesn't listen as much because they're so focused on their task. So again here, S's need to feel very valued and have that time to reflect, but they fear change. So they're very much around building relationships and security in a nice environment. If you can talk in an S's language, you can get anything from an S, because they will tend to want to work with you and help you all the way. They might even be a client and they'll still be trying to help you, because that's the type of person that they are. They've got very big hearts and they are amazing. They like to create these sort of win-win situations for people all the time. But their challenges really are that they're quite hard to, how can I say, sometimes the S can be taking on so much for other people that they don't take on their own stuff, because they're always helping others so that they can be left, and they might become a little bit of a doormat for other people and be taken advantage of, okay? So you have to just be a little bit careful if you're an S, that you're not taken advantage of, because you are such a, you know, you're such a relationship builder. So you'll see, you know, quite a lot of people in the online field who sort of like are building relationships because that's what they are, because they're strong S's. Any S's that spring to mind here?
I mean, both.
Yeah, so a little bit more of that. What do you think the emotion, you know, if you weren't getting those relationships, if you weren't getting that security, and there was a lot of change going on, what do you think would happen emotionally to an S? What sort of emotions would come up there for that person?
Like getting really stressed.
Yeah, and and we'll let other people know, because they're people, so there will be a lot of external emotion coming out from them, and it's not a great place. But they wouldn't want to tell too many people because they don't want to upset anybody else, right? So they'll keep it to themselves, and things get bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. And then finally is the C, who on this picture here is down here. So the task orientated, they're down on the sort of like lower end here, on more of the reserve side. And these guys, I get a lot of C's coming to see me, a lot of C's, because they hold everything in, because they're quite an introvert generally, okay, and they base their world on a non-risk approach. They weigh everything up. They have to get it right, so they can never move forward because they have to get it right. And their attention to detail is massive. If you see a C writing an email, you'll have 3 pages of data and detail about everything. The detail and all of the things that you would probably say, could you just bullet, I would say, can you bullet point it? Because I'm an I, which is very different. They're very, very, very analytical, go by rules, love rules, and they need to have information to make a decision. So if you are dealing with a C type of a person, they're the ones who you have to lay it all out for them. You have to weigh it up, you have to give them the risks, you have to give them the positives, the negatives, and the options and everything around that, because they fear getting things, they do not want to get it wrong. So they will not make a decision until they are completely 100% sure in themselves that they're okay. So their secret fuel is being correct. And value for money, they always want value in a really balanced way, and quality answers. So any fluff to a C is absolutely no good at all. They will walk away and you will never see them again. The beauty of the C is that they will always be the one who comes up with the right answer, because of their needs to weigh things up and make it right. But they can become so stagnated and so insular when things aren't going well for them with change. So change for them is a really big thing. So who can resonate with C here? Any C's? Okay, yeah, so maybe you see, we see that you might be in touch with a C, and these could be people who are the decision makers because they have all the detail, and so we need to make sure that you have the right information. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that, about what you need to do when you see these people. Can anybody now relate to somebody else that they have? Let me go back to this one. So we've got a couple of I's, we've got a couple of S's, we got a D. Who can you think of a person at this moment in time, or a client or a potential client, that you cannot understand, or you just cannot get through to properly? Or you might be having emails back and forth and it just seems, what are they talking about? Or these conversations you're having just are not resonating. Can you think of anybody in your mind and the style that they are? Beth, you were nodding your head there. Beth, try. What What's your
Very few and far between, I think. I think I tend to attract the kind of bubbly, fun people that want to do things in a bubbly, fun way. But occasionally, when you do get one of these,
the C's?
I call them computers.
Right, yeah, well, they a lot of the people who are the C's are accountancy type people. They love spreadsheets, they love data, they love, all of that stuff. They're in their element.
I know they are not going to usually buy from me. Say they've come and I've done a nice makeup lesson for them, and we've talked about this, and they've got to go away. I've got to give them lots of information to read, the whole lot, and the ingredients list and what it does and the benefits of what it does and where they put it, and they'll probably still ask me questions about, and where did you say that goes, and they bring their notepad, don't they, and they want to write everything down, and they check that you're going to write everything down, and they'll read, if you've given them style rules. Again, I'm like, well, it depends, it depends, because you might want to put it like this on this day, but you might want to mix it up. And they're like, no, but what's the rule? What do I do? What do I wear it with?
Yeah, exactly. And, if you can get that right, then the decision will be made quicker, right?
Yeah, they just want a definite rule, really. But it's great when they tell me, I'm a rules person. I want to, and I had a guy, actually, I don't do many men, but I had a guy in the summer. I sounded bad again. And he just told me, he said, look, I'm just really rules-based. Just come sort my wardrobe, tell me what goes with what. I actually took photos for him. I said, look, my photography is rubbish, but I'm going to take photos and then you'll remember, yes, that goes with that, that goes with that. And he said, yeah, every now and then I'm going to have a review, and that will be the rule until you tell me something else is the rule.
Yeah. It's it's really interesting, because a lot of these C's that come are usually the ones who are under deep stress internally, or have been off on stress, or are not coping because things are happening too fast for them, and they can't process the information as quickly as they need to. So the emotional sort of stuff behind that will usually sit down in their stomach or in their chest, because they'll be having panic attacks. They are the big ones for a lot of stress, and sort of that stuff that happens to people. Anybody else think of a person who's sort of almost opposite to their style here, that they have sort of just can't seem to get to them, and now looking at this can see that they're a particular style that's not there, that's not yours?
Not in that way. What I find sometimes is when you are speaking to somebody, or me trying to get to them and build a relationship with them, but they are so far up there already that they don't let you in. They think they don't need you because they're already up there. And it's almost like they feel a little bit superior to you, and they show that.
What sort of style would that be to you?
Or definitely red.
This one up here.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so they're very goal focused. So there's some actions there around that maybe they're not listening to you because of the language that you might be using with those types of that type of style. So let me go on here. So, this was just a very old slide that I picked out, but we can see that all of these PMs had the same job, but they all had very different styles, and the language they used was very different to how they approach things as well. Obviously, I'm not going to go into which is which here, but I'm sure you can guess which ones are which. I didn't bother putting Boris on that because I think he'll be gone soon anyway. So So the energy we put out is the energy we get back, right? So once you sort of get an idea of your style and you understand that behavior style of the type of person that you are, we will tend to put out a specific energy out into the world because that's what we know, right? And then we will get that energy back. So if you're talking to clients and you're not getting an answer, then that's because you're putting out the wrong energy to that person. So what I wanted to just show you here is that I talked a little bit around emotions, because in all essence, we will be, trying to talk to clients like Steffi, you're saying, oh, they're up themselves, they think they know better and everything. And yeah, maybe so, but the impact of that on you is those emotions that you're portraying out because it's not satisfying your style will have an impact on you. And every emotion that we have will sit in our body and will manifest at some point if we allowed it to keep going. And so I just put a little a slide up here to show you how your behavior style, when it's disaligned, I call it, it can actually have an impact on your body. And I'm sure some of you here already know all of this, but I just wanted to show you where that stuff will sit, and having a bit more of a self-awareness about what your behavior style may have when you're talking to others. So here we have, fear, which is around the emotions of the kidneys and the bladder. So, you hear people go in when they're scared. Oh my God, I nearly peed my pants, right? It's a kid, it's something, it manifests around the kidney and the bladder, and the worry and nervousness around the spleen and the stomach. So you'll find that people who are worried, who are nervous, will end up getting a lot of stomach problems, IBS, all of those sort of maybe ulcers in the stomach, those types of things. Anger, frustration is the emotion of the liver and the gallbladder, very, very important one that you need to be aware of. And so then this happiness and joy, and the similarly sadness comes into, will manifest down into the heart and the small intestines. Oh, sorry, what have I done? Oh yeah, anxiety then, very much around the lungs. And this is why people, especially the C's, you'll see them having these panic attacks around the lungs because they're not functioning properly, and the intestines are not digesting the food properly. And you'll see people, with anxiety having to go to the toilet rather a lot. But why I'm showing you this is that sometimes if you're all the time trying to talk to somebody, trying to have that behavior, you're in your behavior and this person is in another behavior style, and it becomes really frustrating, and it's just, you cannot communicate because you're just disaligned all the time, that emotion comes back at you. And this is what we need to make sure it doesn't happen, because what you put out, you get back. So, this, as I said, causes that lack of understanding, emotional upset and disagreement. You'll get a lot of distress if you're disaligned. And so this is why knowing these styles and knowing how to jump into them, which I'm going to show you what that means in a minute, will help you. So we need to have a really good self-awareness of your own behavior style, strengths, weaknesses, and what really motivates you, because and also then understanding the other styles so that you can actually, and I like the analogy of stepping into the shoes of that other person so that you can speak their language, and managing and being aware of those emotions in your body. So being a lot more mindful around that, because disalignment will cause a load of stress and a load of anxiety when you're trying to build your businesses and you'll have these clients, you'll have these people who might be complete opposite styles to you, and basically you just need to shift your language and how you approach things a little bit differently. So what I put here is a little bit around how to build those relationships. Now, to a D, so if you're thinking you know someone who's quite a strong D, who is very much that sort of dominant, goal-focused figure, they really do. Now, these are strong Ds, and you're going to have elements of all of these in you, and you should, yeah, but you will have one of them will be your dominant style. As they are goal-focused, direct and to the point. If you're a strong S and you go talk to a D and you start talking about relationships and holidays, they'll be rolling their eyes and moving away as fast as they can and running for the hills, okay? They get really frustrated. Time is really so important to a D. So if you have a meeting with a D or you want to set up something with them, they will want to know what it's about, what are the options, how are you going to do it, when are you going to do it, and then they just want you to get the hell out of it. They want to know what and not how. Working on facts, options, and results. Very, very results focused. That is their overall sort of secret fuel. It's about outcomes. They want to know very quickly. So if you arrange a meeting with a D, they will want a maximum half an hour with you because they want to get on with their own stuff and get their tasks going because they are results focused. You will pee off a client if you spend hours with them because you may be an S or an I on the people side. They're not bothered. They just want to get on with things. That sounds awful, doesn't it? But there's a strong, strong D, right? And I know quite a few of those. And the way you manage them and talk to them is that way, and it will help no end. So again, when you're doing your social media, when you're doing any stuff online, think of this style. If you're talking to a D, what will they want to hear? You know, they're going to want to know the outcome, what it's going to give them. So the I then is about that big picture. They're like, I equate the I to like spaniel running around a field, sniffing different things and going, oh, there you go. Oh, that's good. All right, I'm going over here now. Oh, that's really good. Oh, hello, everybody. Oh, yeah. Really exciting. And it's like, you know, obviously they're big picture, they're creative, they're motivated by new ideas. So when you're talking to an I, so let's think if there's a C, which is the complete opposite of an I, starts talking together, they're like that. They are completely opposite. And you'll see the I's roll in their eyes, the I's roll in their eyes. And the C's get really frustrated because, you know, they want to tell them the detail, but the I is big picture now and motivated by these new ideas and possibilities. So you're always talking to a client or your staff on an I with just imagine if, yeah, creating that big picture, creating what will it look like, what will it feel like, yeah, because they're very much energetically attuned to that, being drawn to that big picture. So recognizing like their successes, yeah. So again, remember, I's really, really need that feedback all the time. So if you're talking to an I, just even an email back going, oh, thank you so much. It was lovely to meet you. You're such a lovely person, or whatever. They love to have that sort of really positive, affirmed thing back to them. You will start to gel with them very quickly. But don't give too much detail up front because they will roll their eyes and run for the hills. Does that make sense? Okay, so the S's, and you know, there's quite a number of S's around, because they're very much around relationship building, as I said. But you spend half an hour building the relationship with an S, and you will then be able to ask them to do something or to sign up to something, and they probably will end up working with you, because the relationship part for them and that trust element is absolutely key. And of course it is for all of us, but for the S's in particular, it is really, really important, because they need to have that rapport so it's non-threatening. So you're asking sort of like how and not what, like the D, because the D and the S are complete opposites. Yeah. Building in a really comfortable environment, and being very patient. Now, as you can imagine, and a D and an S together are complete disasters, because the D wants the result straight away and just wants you out to there in half an hour because they got more to do. The S wants to spend the time on the relationships to build that and talk about their holidays and all of that lovely stuff. But that would really, really have a problem with the D, that they just do not tend to gel, and it can be quite challenging. So again, it's about how you step into that S if you're a different style, and be very, very mindful of that type of person. So the C then, if you are working with a C, or you have a client who is a C, again, you have to minimize that risk massively for them. So if you want to arrange a meeting with an SE, you need to arrange it in advance. You can't jump on a C and go, can I have a meeting with you this afternoon? Because they need to prepare. They need to have information up front for them to be able to make a decision and to be able to weigh it all up in advance. If you're able to send information to them before you even see them, knowing perhaps you've seen them once before, so you get an idea about that they're probably quite detailed in a C, you clock it and you take that information and you send it to them, and then ask for another meeting, but with a whole load of data and a whole load of stuff that's going to weigh it all up. Yeah. Don't surprise them. They hate surprises. They will run for the hills and you'll never see them again. Agree with facts rather than emotions. Yeah, so very task orientated again, like the D. So a lot of questions around what ifs. What if? They like all of that, discussing the pros and the cons. And you will get a very, very integrated person with you if you can do that. Now, an I and a C are complete opposites. So as you can imagine, they can frustrate the hell out of you. So it's about how you mindfully think about your own style and think, right, I need to jump into this style and talk in their language. Otherwise, you're going to be up against a brick wall. I hope that makes sense. And so finally then, really, I put this up because I thought it was quite good. Be plus have equals behave. You will experience your success when you behave accordingly. So, be and you shall have. I think if you can be aware of your own behavior style, and that's great, but also then knowing when to flex out of that style into a different style. That is the trick for writing your content for social media. You have to write in all 4 styles. Okay, you have to write from the goal focus D to the supporter relationship building S, to the big picture I, to the detail of facts and stuff all around the C. And also then with your meetings, be mindful of how they play out. And so, for me, really, is there any sort of aha moments there for you that you'd like to share from that very short presentation? Yeah, go on, Bob.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you went through this, my upline in Forever is definitely a D. She's
Okay.
definitely a D, whereas I see myself more of an S. And when I
It's the
first
real
started
opposite, isn't
working with her, it was a bit frustrating. But now I go prepared.
Right.
I know she wants goals, facts, figures. She wants to know exactly what I'm doing,
Yeah.
on what days, what results I'm going to get, what incentives I'm going for, and when I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
And so she has, I suppose, trained me to think in that sort of way, whereas I'm more of an S, and I'm more, you know, I'd like to tell her about my week and how it's all gone. She's not interested. She
No.
just wants to know, in that week, what goals have I reached? What targets have I met? Which ones am I rolling to next week? She doesn't care how my life is.
No, and you know, and
not in a bad way. She's a very caring person, but in that business meeting, she's not there to see, you know,
yeah.
how the family are and
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah.
But it is quite useful, I think, sometimes to work with somebody who's the opposite to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, I've worked with C. They've frustrated the hell out of me, but
Yeah.
it really helped me to
Yeah, my husband is a
slow
C.
down a bit.
Very frustrating. But equally, I have a downline then who I don't know where she is, but she is somebody that I have to tell things to over and over again. She doesn't listen. She's very airy-fairy. I don't know if she's an I. She's one of these, she's very spontaneous. She likes to have a bit of fun, but she doesn't take on any detail at all.
That's definitely an I then, isn't it?
And
Yeah.
I find that really frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, when you have meetings or when you're having conversations with other clients or things, it's about asking lots of questions to really get to the core of which style they are, so that then you can really start working with them in their language. Otherwise, you'll always be up with this disalignment, which is going to just frustrate the hell out of you. And also then for your own personal self-care, which is what I was talking about, your emotional and your energy.
Yeah.
The moment you start getting stressed, is going to come through to that client and the wrong thing is going to come out of your mouth.
And I also have a couple of team members who are definitely C's. So they get the jobs of, okay, well, do me a spreadsheet on it then.
Yeah.
Because I hate spreadsheets, so they're happy to have that allocated to them. They go away really, really excited that they're going to be able to do a spreadsheet. I'm happy.
Yeah.
They come back.
Okay. So anybody else?
I can remember working, I was only, 35 years of age, working in MenCap, developing services for Bridgend. And I was working directly to the Assistant Director of Social Services. So I was a dominant at 35. And of course, I was working to a very senior role of a compliance who is sort of in his mid-50s. Email had just come in, but I really didn't understand email. I'd knock on his door and I'd say, are you ready to chat about so-and-so, so-and-so? And it would completely freak him out. So I quickly realized he was a compliance person. And I just overloaded him with such a lot of information, because I knew when I would give him a report, I'd always give him a physical report, and he'd put it in his hand and weigh it with his hand to say, you know, you've obviously thought about this now.
Yeah.
And we got on really well, because I wanted to get these projects done, but it was knowing he was he needed to be so careful, he had to be logical, he had to be organized, because he was working with the Director of Social Services and a committee. You know, I could not let him down by giving him the wrong information.
Yeah.
So we worked really well. As soon as I stepped into his compliance box and supplied him with everything he needed to know he could make a decision supporting my project, knowing it would be okay.
And it's really interesting, Cheryl, because, you know, I do get quite a few clients who are in that C, because, as I said, they're very stressed because they are managed by Ds. because the D's want it now, and the C, they're going, oh my God, you know, I can't cope with this, I can't cope with the change, I can't cope with the fast nature of it all. And you know, it can be really, really a problem for people. Yeah.
But I think as long as the Ds equip the compliance people with all the information they need
Yeah.
to feel safe to make a decision, then they can work well together.
Yeah, they can all work well together, and this is my point in that, you know, you're going to be you're working with clients, and Steffi, you were saying, you know, you have some of these clients who are know-alls and stuff, you know, I don't know what you described as these people who tend to be higher up.
There was one, that's the only one I struggled with.
Oh, right, yeah. And, you know, it'd have been interesting to know what that style was, because there's something there that maybe could have been communicated that would have struck with them. Maybe not, maybe, but yeah, it's, you know, thinking about it in this way will really help you in terms of all of your communication, both in the online world, but also face to face. So
they like quite a direct approach as well, don't they? So sometimes if somebody, I quite like to guess what people are, even by the style they email me. So the S,
language as well, isn't it? It's the language.
Yeah, they'll tell you, you know, the S will tell you their life story and who they're supporting, and that they look after their grandchild, and they do this for their daughter, and blah de blah de blah. The influence person will tell you all the fun things in her life, but the dominant person will just kind of email me and say,
when's it done?
I'm not happy with my image, I need a style consultation, what day can you see me?
Yeah.
And then I'll just email them back, go, great, yeah, this. Yeah. What's your main reason for coming to see me? And they'll go, they still sometimes don't tell me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I even send them a form or something that they can just put in a few things, and then it gives me a few more clues.
They just want it done, don't they? They just want it done.
I used to have one, and she used to say, very good, as if to say, like, yes, I know, I've got that now. Next thing, very good.
Yeah, really interested. But I found it really useful for if I'm writing content, for using the different styles, yeah, thinking about the person who's the influencer, thinking about the one who's the S, and working around it for bits of content on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever.
I find though, if I write in my style now, that's how I attract my clients that I like working with. Because if I ignore the others, I get less of them. So I like to write mine, and if they like me and they like my style, I get more of those. I mean, a consultation that's meant to take 2 hours takes 4 hours, which isn't good. But at least I enjoy it, and I'm having fun. They're having fun. I like people to get excited. If they're frowning at me and going, yes, yeah, I don't like it so much. So I just speak to the people that I want to attract, and they go, she's fun, I'll go and see her.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't put the others off. No,
and then when you're working with them, you have to be able to step into their style. Yeah. So and not take offense, really, and not get emotional over the fact that you're not getting what you need.
It's been a really good reminder. Thank you, Jane.
Okay.
Lovely.
Beamer, I would say you're quite a C.
Oh, I think more of an S.
Do you think so? Okay, because you're very detailed, aren't you? And you did, you know, you're so good at all this proofreading and stuff. See, I'm the other end of going, oh, it'll do.
I was actually worrying because on Thursday morning I put a meeting with a lady who's not difficult, but she's very much on a different wavelength to me. I think that's because she is a C, and I couldn't work out how I was going to approach the meeting with her. But actually, now you've told me what to do, I'm feeling much better about it, because I can already say I've scripted virtually how I'm going to go about the meeting now.
Yeah.
I just couldn't quite work out what angle to take to get on her way.
Consequences, risk, think of the risk, think of it in all that context. give her every bit of information, data, whatever it is that will satisfy it, and give her a time scale.
Yep, I got a
She
plan
will
now.
love you. Okay. I'm going to close this now a minute. Hang on, sorry. There we are.
Make
Thank
me
you.
host again, Jane. So I
Oh, how do we do
shut
that?
down the recording as soon as we've finished. I just want to thank Jane, because that was an amazing presentation. I think it's got us all thinking. Can we put our hands together for Jane? That was
Thank you.
absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Jane. You truly are a career thought leader. You've got us all thinking about, you know, aspects of our own behavior and how we're going to work with other people. So I'd like to get feedback from people now. What have they learned from this evening, and how are they going to put it to work in their business? So can I come to you first, Steffi? So what have you learned this evening? How are you going to put it to work?
Exactly what Beth just said. I think I want to attract those that I want to work with, rather than I could not work with that kind of client anymore. It wasn't just me she was like that with. It was her staff, her husband, the people at the stables, and it's just not the kind of client that I would want long term.
Or the kind of husband. Don't marry one. I was for 20 years.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think I would want to change how I am and how I work to please somebody like that who is like that with other people. I don't know. I'd rather be myself.
I think what happens, Steph, is that, you know, when you are yourself, you will naturally draw the right clients to you with the messaging that you're putting out, but you will get clients who come to you and maybe you'll be like, well, should I, shouldn't I? But it is really easy when you know the style and how to handle that. And just to let you know, sorry, Cheryl, I haven't quite finished it, but I've got a link which I'll send through where you can do a paper disc test for yourself, so that you can really see the proper style of what you are, and also then a bit more information for each of those styles, so that you can refer back to that for when you're sat there with a client on the phone going, oh shit, I don't really want to speak to this person anymore, but what type of style, what would be the best way to approach this?
Lovely, thank you. So perhaps when you have that completed, you can
yeah, I just need to link it up, that was all. I just didn't have time
do like a test run for you. Yeah, and you can lock us all up afterwards.
Okay.
Lovely. Over to you, Beth. What have you learned? How are you going to put it to work? So I am said which Beth? Sorry, Beth Beamer. So Beth, what have you learned, and how are you going to put it to work?
Well, Thursday morning I will test run this and let you know how I get on.
Lovely. Well, perhaps you can give us some feedback on next Tuesday. Yeah, that'd be great. So Yvonne, what have you learned? How are you going to put it to work?
I've learned I quite like the challenge, actually, of working with lots of different people, but it's given me more tools now. I think I've mastered how to work with my upline, so I think I've got a handle on the D's now. I just need to work on the I's.
Lovely.
So I need some tool. I've got a couple of those that I find harder to work with, but I like the challenge.
I'll be good when you work with me. I'll be very good.
All right, then.
I'll behave myself, and I'll remind myself.
Don't behave. I need the challenge.
She won't.
And I agree with Yvonne. It can be quite fun, you know, trying to work out what's happening here in the dynamic, really, and what's really going on, and how can I adapt and support that person. It can be quite fun. So over to you, Karen. What have you learned? How are you going to put it to work?
I think for me, with a lot of people that I'm going to be working with, they're all creative in some shape or form. So they're either an I or an S. So it's just making sure that I've got the what ifs and the hows and the what's all covered, so they understand what's been delivered, how it's been delivered, and have that social proof in there that makes them a bit more comfortable about it.
Thank you, Karen. Over to you, Ellie. Are you there behind your square?
I
So
think
Ellie, how are you going to put it to work? And
Oh, hang on. Screen malfunction. I think what's really interesting is looking at am I right in thinking, Jane, the Myers-Briggs personality traits? I have come across it a couple of times previously, and something that I've identified with, that I'm very much I suppose, in talking about definitions of colours rather than numbers of letters of the alphabet, I'm very much in between a blue and a green. Which explains a lot about me interacting or not interacting with people that are very much dominant characters. For example, my two siblings, who I do not get on in any way, shape or form. So for me, it's quite a big eye-opener, because it also means that the type of client that I want to work with are very empathetic and very similar personality-wise to me. And again, as you said, Jane, it's all about attracting like-minded individuals that you know you can work very closely together with. So I think it's really interesting. It's really quite fascinating who you are drawn to working with and who you are not drawn to work with. And I have had a couple of instances in the last few years where I've had a client come in and it didn't matter what I did, I just could not work with them. So it's very, very fascinating. So for me, it's just all about marketing and finding that ideal client for my business.
fantastic.
So if I send you the sheet, yeah, that will
Yeah,
have a really good idea. Because what style do you think you are off that? It'll be really interesting to see your perception of what you think you are to what you actually come out as well.
Yeah, I need to see.
Confused, possibly.
What do you think you are at the moment?
Very confused.
Come on, out to this fall.
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, just not entirely sure.
Okay. Well, I'll send you the thing, and it'll be really interesting, because that is a real eye-opener then for you.
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. I think as well, also working in my capacity within the NHS, it's also made me realise who I am and what my personality is, and what gives me that purpose and what drives my passion, if that makes sense. And I think that's quite interesting. So yeah, very interesting.
Thank you. And Beth, pricey, so pricey. So tell
Oh
us,
goodness, you've heard enough from me, surely.
how are you going to put this to work in your business? What have you learned?
I like I say, it's a really good reminder, because I know it, and some of it I do instinctively, but it's just a good reminder, and to remind myself, like, Cheryl, I would marry you. Not everybody is to such a degree that, you know, I'm sure you've got other bits mixed in. You're not like my ex-husband was. Yeah, just to remind myself, but to be authentic, but to and when I come to do my talk in a few weeks' time, it will be similar, because we have style personalities, and we can put ourselves into a box, you know, of our style personality. But if we want to come over as something a little bit different, if we have to go and do, you know, if we're very romantic and girly, but we have to go and work with a man who is a dominant, then we might want to just, you know, tie it all up, shirt and trousers, and yeah, no nonsense, get on with it, kind of thing. He doesn't want fusses and frills, and so it's all intertwined, really, isn't it? And it is about dialing things up, when to dial things up and go, oh, this is a fun person, I can have fun here, and I can really just be as bonkers as I usually am. Or when, ooh, this is the D's I call a bullet. And I used to have a boss when I sort of worked at Colour Me Beautiful. I was still self-employed as a stylist, but she was what was she? I don't know, creative director or something for a bit. She was a bullet, and she just used to just find me intolerable. I would have liked to have been trainer there, but I never became trainer because Veronique just, yeah. So I need to dial it down a lot.
Okay. Thank you, Beth. And you've heard me calling Beth pricey. So this is like an in-joke at which Beth will be announcing shortly with her new range.
Nothing's definite yet, Mrs. Dominant, Ms. Dominant. Nothing's definite. Nothing's decided.
I'm already putting timescales together in my mind for everything.
I think that's what you were saying before, though, is about it's self-awareness, isn't it? Yeah, it's all about our own self-awareness, because we can get lost in our day-to-day stuff and get frustrated with people who aren't our style, and it's just about, well, stop, hang on a minute, right, and almost have a laugh of it when someone really triggers you, rather than letting it spiral you out of control. Yeah,
I'm fascinated by people, so I joke, but I do like all sorts. I'm absolutely, and sometimes I open the door, I think, oh no, I'm not going to get on with this one, and then once they open up a little bit and I've worked them out a little bit, and it is like, it is a challenge then to get them eating out of your hand and thinking you're the best thing since sliced bread. And my very good lady used to take me shopping every season, used to ring me up, what butchers do you use? What this do you use? What that do you use? Because I just give her what's the best restaurant to eat at? Go here, Diana. Okay, I'll do that. And so I was her guru on everything in the end.
I think if you can jump into a style and you are very different, and you can work with it, you will be like their best friend, won't you? You know, they will buy from you time and time again. And
it's a good game. It's a good game, Steffi. I'll help you.
Lorna, what have you learned? How are you going to put it to work?
It's interesting. I really enjoyed this evening. I can see now that I'm an I with like a dollop of D on top. I'm a bit of a hybrid, I think. And I think, how can I say, I have zero problem communicating with everybody in the business sense, but I know that tolerance is the word that's in my mind tonight. It's just having that tolerance for your C's. You know, if you're an I and you just think, well, why aren't you getting it? This is what we're going to do. Let's go. And so tolerance is a word I've written down, just to have a little bit more tolerance, because I think I's, we're so confident that it's very easy for us to forget that others aren't. And so when I have clients coming in and I'm waving my arms and saying, well, darlings, of course we're going to do this. And, you know, it's just taking that moment to realize that not everybody wants to be a mermaid or whatever. So one of the things that stuck with me, though, that you've said today, Jane, is about social media, is about writing social media with all 4 types in mind.
If you want all 4 types,
Oh, I'll take anybody. I'm not fussy. I'm not like Beth. Bring them in. No, because I'm working at the moment, you know, I'm working predominantly with children.
Okay.
And that's very, very different, because the parents come in, I say hello, my focus is completely on the child. And so, for me, I think being able to write in the 4 genres, as it were, that's something I'm going to take away from today. So thank you for that.
And almost sit in that client's headspace, you know, like the sea who's risk averse. You can write a story about that and the people will resonate.
This is it. Yeah.
Okay.
Lovely. Thank you, Lorna. And over to you, Sally. What have you learned this evening? What are you going to put to work?
Lorna stole my punchline. Lorna stole my punchline. Mine was actually around just that reminder around social media and tapping into the different styles. That wasn't new to me, Jane, you won't be surprised. Obviously, that's what I teach, the same sort of thing. But, you know, again, it was really interesting for me watching the reactions, different people picking this up for the first time. I always forget how powerful these tools are and how well you can use them. And, you know, I think the reality is, and I was quite saddened actually, Yvonne, to hear about your upline, and maybe it's because of where you work, but as a leader, it is your responsibility to change. You choose to take a commitment to lead other people and to have a team around you. And so therefore it is your responsibility to adapt your style to get the best out of your team. Sadly, in this country, we don't get that from leaders at all nationwide.
She don't have 1 million people in her downline, so she is quite busy.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, but actually
I don't
that
find
is
it a
part of her
problem.
role.
I don't find
No.
her a problem. I find it quite exciting. It's been very good for me to be more focused.
Yeah, and it probably is, but she should be embracing more of your style and your need as well. It's just kind of traditional leadership. There's a huge thing around the accidental manager in the UK. It's a massive problem. It didn't say earlier, but I sit on the CMI Cymru board as well, and we've just put a manifesto into the government around the accidental manager and the low profile of leadership in Wales, because I've done a lot of work in England around the apprenticeship framework, and the English government plows so much money into leadership training in England, and in Wales they just won't support it at all, despite the fact that most organisations are having 0.5% of their wage bill taken out as tax anyway. So quite disappointing, but I digress. And clearly Em and I are getting excited. I can't stay on track. Sunshine Yellow in terms of insights. Talk with my hands a lot. And I think one of you mentioned, I think it was Lorna, you mentioned the talking with your hands. I have to do that. That's another way I have to change quite a lot my style. I think who was saying about they find people, and I, perhaps Yvonne, it was you, really annoying. Yeah, I'm that person, I'm sorry. And again, it is about attracting people that kind of work for us, isn't it? But that reminder about adapting our style, I think it is a really powerful reminder, especially on social media. I don't do enough of that. So thank you, Jane, I loved it. It was great to hear the difference between the disc and the insights as well.
It was a fantastic presentation, Jane. Thank you so much.
It was.
It was really wonderful. What I want to make sure is that everyone touches base with whoever they want to touch base with in the next upcoming week, because of course I know some of you won't have had some time with Jane, and already I can see a synergy between what Steffi does and what Beth Price does with regards to what Jane does. You know, there needs to be a connection there. The same with Karen. You know, I don't know, Karen, if you've had a one-to-one with Jane yet. And Sally's very new. This is her first time online. So again, you know, there's a beautiful room to hire there in Bridgend. So whether you're doing training or photo shooting or style makeovers within companies, or it could be that you need a photographic studio in Bridgend, you know, there's fabulous facilities there. So
sorry, Sally, do you live in Bridgend? Okay, I live in Postcole.
There we go. So Sally,
Broadlands.
Phone her up so people can make contact with you, Sally, and the same with yourself, Jane, so that you know, people can, you know, you can arrange with one another to have a coffee. So I'll just do a quick whisk round, a very, very quick whisk round. Steffi, is there anyone you need to connect with in the next?
Well, I've arranged to meet Lorna because we wanted to quite a while ago, and I've messaged Lorna on Facebook after our last Zoom, and it wasn't her account, so I haven't connected with her. So we're going to rearrange that now because I had completely the wrong person. Had the same name, but was the wrong person. And Beth Beamer, we still haven't arranged the one-to-one. We definitely need to do that, but we were both off over Christmas, so it was a bit difficult.
Okay, lovely. Beth, who do you need to connect with? Because you're Bridgend based as well. So who is it that you need to connect with, Beth?
I need to catch up with Beth and Steffi still, because we said we do that in the new year, and Sally, because I'm in Porthcawl as well, so I'm not far from you.
Lovely. So what about yourself then, Yvonne? Who do you need to connect with?
I've arranged to connect. I've already connected with Ellie, but I'm going to connect with her again now coming up. And I need to connect with Karen again and pick up where we left off. I've already agreed to catch up with Steph and Beth Price. So
lovely, thank you. And Karen, who do you need to touch base with?
I've got to catch up again with Yvonne because we're almost at the crossing line. Need to speak to Ellie because I think we're buddying up next couple of weeks. And Jane, always be good to catch up with and have a chat and see where we are. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Jane, who do you need to connect with?
Oh, God, everyone really. But I'd really like to have a conversation with you, Sally, with your premises, because I live in Portugal and I've been doing day retreats, the sort of holistic, calm mindset retreats down on the beach here, but no facilities indoors to do that. So I'd like to talk to you about that.
Perfect for that. You got the stepping stones and everything just down the road.
Oh my God.
It is just gorgeous. And there's peacocks and chickens and all sorts just wandering around.
That's brilliant. That's so really good. Beth Price. I have arranged sorry, Steffi, I told you this before, didn't I?
Yeah, we met after, didn't we?
A photography session for this year coming now. It hasn't been booked a date yet, but my wardrobe is shite, and you know,
I'm sure it's not.
I need to have a chat with you.
Yeah, the best version of you and all the messages that you want to send through those photos.
Okay.
On the beach.
Yeah. Not hooker.
Over to you, Ellie. Who do you need to connect with?
Oh, I need to talk to Karen, definitely. Steffi, we need to organise what we discussed previously with all of that. And I do need to catch up with Yvonne again. And well, anyone else that wants to, really.
Okay, lovely. Over to you then, Beth Price. Who do you need to connect with?
Well, it's lovely to meet Sally tonight because I love her space. And whenever I do a workshop, I used to live in a nice big house, as you know, my sad story, and I now live in a teeny house. So I have, if I wanted to do something for some women, like a style spa day where they learn about some colours and some style tips and some makeup, it would be nice that there's an option there of a space. So I'm sure it would be good just to have a chat sometime, Sally. And Yvonne, we're speaking soon, aren't we? And Lorna, we're speaking soon. And Jane, obviously, I will get back to you with some sensible chat as to what I can do for you and all of that before your shoot. Who's your shoot with?
Can I move on, because I'm just aware we're running late. Yes, yeah? So can you hook up the chat stuff? Fab. So Lorna, who do you need to hook up with?
I'll be quick. So Steffi and I, we're talking on Friday. Beth and I are doing coffee, maybe cake next week.
Oh no, it's January. You can do cake.
I'll eat, you watch. Sally, again, look, we're all after your premises. I had offices in Iweni Priory for donkey's years.
Oh wow.
So I know where you are, and absolutely I'd like to get in touch because I'm looking to run a workshop fairly soon, and
brilliant.
Your premises could be ideal. That's it.
There we are. And over to you, Sally. Who is it that you'd like to connect?
I'm just going to eat all those opportunities up and meet with all of you. And I love hosting as well. Cheryl will tell you, I love people coming down to the bar, and I am really proud of it. It wasn't on my radar to have a training school. I was always just going to hire places. I saw this place and absolutely fell in love with it and decided I wanted to share it with others as well. So if any of you want to come down and have a coffee and just come and nose, really, you're more than welcome. I open the doors to that. My email's in the chat, so just drop me a line.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, everyone. Next week, I was going to ask Lorna. I'm going to put Lorna on the spot now. If Lorna, because we haven't heard from Lorna on a Tuesday night as yet, so it'd be really lovely for Lorna to share with us how we can all release our inner goddess, because she does this amazing photography within the business, yeah? So wouldn't it be wonderful to know about this goddess part of how they build and release this goddess part of, the wacky kind of style of this release of who we are inside, because we're all looking to release or something. Well, let's go to the absolute extreme and work out, how do you do this, releasing this goddess? Yes.
Oh, Cheryl, you crack me up. You
So most of you will have seen this most amazing, totally off the wall imagery, very much, Sally, that you've seen the hairdresser create in headpieces and whatever. So it'd be really lovely to know from a, you know, from a Lorna perspective, how do you do this? Yeah. So it's all about the goddess. And I'm sure we'll all, you know, add our two penneth in of, you know, what is our version of releasing our inner goddess? Because we got Beth Price here in fashion, you know, she can help us release our inner goddess. So when it comes to Steffi, what is it about in photography terms, you're releasing your inner goddess? When it comes to Beth Beamer, when it comes to finance, you know, what is that all about? It releasing your inner goddess. We've got Yvonne here with helping us with weight loss. What's that about relating to inner goddess? For, you know, when it comes to book writing, what's that about when it comes to releasing our inner goddess as a book? So, and when it comes to training, what's all that about? Our career as a goddess. And Ellie, when it comes to, you know, what is it that we can be doing with our bodies and our skin, all about this inner goddess. So the whole theme is going to be about us all releasing our inner goddess. What does that really look like? What does it feel like? Can we budget for it? Can we write a book about it? It's all going to be about this inner goddess. So you've all got time to prep. It's a week away. So I'm sure it's something you can think about in the bath, really, isn't it? You know what's my inner goddess really all about? So before Jane goes, a huge thank you again, Jane. You've delighted us, inspired us, really stretched our minds this evening. Thank you very much. You were fantastic. And have a great week, everyone. I know I'm seeing some of you during the week. I know I'm seeing you, Sally, on, is it Thursday, Friday? So really looking forward to that. And I'm sure I'm going to connect with everyone in between. So stay safe, everyone, and have a fabulous week ahead. Bye-bye.
Bye all.
Bye. Bye.